Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to go back over the basic principles once again, just to get these firmly in our brain. And I want you to draw along with me. So take your paper. And what we're going to do is just in one section over here, or you can draw it right across the sheet of paper like this. I want you to take and draw a line, a straight line. If you don't have your ruler, you can use the edge of a sheet of paper. Just take, 3 or 4 sheets of paper and just drop them there, and you've got your artificial ruler for you. Now the horizon line, as you'll recall, is the line that separates the sky from the ground. And we have our field of vision. So under normal circumstances, as we get into more and more of the formal exercises, we're going to be using the entire sheet of paper as our field of vision. But for now, we're going to create little artificial fields of vision around this, just to show you some of the ways that we can manipulate this from one position to another. So we're not going to worry at this point right now about where the field of vision is. We're just going to worry about the horizon line and where our vanishing point is. So we're going to start off with 1 point perspective. So we're just going to place a vanishing point right here. And as I mentioned before, I don't want you drawing vanishing points that look like this. I don't want these blobs, because those blobs could be this side of the blob or this side of the blob over here. I want it to be a very definitive line. It's an intersection point between two lines. Now, I'm just going to put on my cheater. I have cheater glasses that are like magnifying glasses, just so I can see this nice and clearly. So we have a vanishing point here. Now, when we're drawing 1 point perspective, and I'm just going to draw this on a separate sheet of paper, and you can draw it on a separate sheet of paper as well. One of the things that we have to understand within our environment, if we draw just a simple box like this and pretend that this is a floor plan of a room, we have to know where we are within the room, what our position is. So as you're sitting out there right now, you're in your desk, and as you look forward towards me, some of you at the back corner over there, you're sitting right here. And as we move across the room, there are people that are here, 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 here. And then there are various people that are here, 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 in each of the rows across. So as you look straight at the wall over in this direction, you're looking at a vanishing point that's right up against the wall there. This row of people are looking at a vanishing point that's right here. This row of people are looking at a vanishing point that's here, 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 here. So you remember last week we were talking about the fact that when you're looking straight at a wall, straight on at the wall, this creates a 90-degree angle here. So the wall is going across this way. Your line or sight of vision, you're looking directly at this point on the wall, creates a 90-degree angle between this line and this line here on the wall. And that's where your vanishing point sits. All right? So we have to understand where we are within our environment will dictate where our vanishing point is going to be in relationship to this wall. Remember how the wall is bounded by the 2 corners. Here's where the line of this wall comes down and connects to this wall here, which creates the corner point here. This wall connects to this wall here, which creates this corner point over here. So we have the 2 vertical lines that describe the width of the wall. And then of course we have the top ceiling and the floor line. So when we go to draw our environment here, we have a horizon line. We now we have to place our vertical lines in relationship to where we are within the environment. So if we just quickly pop back to our floor plan here, if you're over here from this point of view, we actually have to swing it around in this direction here, like this, so that we're looking at the room from this point of view. So on your right-hand side, this corner is over here closer to your vanishing point, and this corner over here is further away from your vanishing point. You could actually measure it off. So what you can do is you can take the distance of this wall here, if you know the actual measurement of the wall, and let's say, like in this room here, it's approximately 30 feet from here to here. That means that half of that is 15, and if we subdivide that by thirds, we've got 5-foot increments here. That means that if you're sitting in this position here, you're approximately 5 feet away from that corner. So when you go to draw your vanishing point here, you know that this corner that's on the right-hand side is going to be somewhere approximately around here on that edge. And this distance from here to here is 5 feet, right? Because back on our floor plan here, if this is 30 feet across here and we subdivide it, we find that that's the mark of 5 foot right there, and that's where we're standing in relationship to that, then we're 5 feet away from the corner. So this and this equals 5 feet right here. So when we go to figure out where the other corner of the room is, obviously on this sheet of paper, I haven't allotted enough space here, because if I take that 5 feet and use a measurement like this, and I go 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, I'm off the page. And so I can't draw that at a corner. So obviously we have to figure out within our field of vision where it is that we're going to place our vanishing point and how we're going to have the corner of the room in relationship to it. So let's just shift everything over a little bit here. Now let's pretend that this is our vanishing point right here. Okay. So now if we use this same base measurement, that this is 5 feet here, and we come across to this point here, we say that this is the corner of the room now. And we can take and simply measure it using either a ruler or your pencil, or you can use your eye as well, and we'll just measure out. So that's 5 feet, that's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 feet to this point right here. So that's the edge of my other corner on this side right here. Right? So I've got two vertical lines, and as you'll remember from last week when we were talking about just introducing the theory behind perspective, there are only 3 directions that your lines can move in. They can either go straight up and down vertical, they can go horizontal, parallel to a horizon line if we're dealing with 1-point perspective, and the other option is to the vanishing point. Those are the only 3 choices that you have. So when I was talking last week about the idea that perspective in general is fairly simple, I wasn't joking. There are only 3 directions your lines can go in. Now, does that sound difficult to you guys to remember that? Can you remember 3 directions? Yes. Up and down, parallel to the horizon line, or to the vanishing point. And if we're dealing with 2-point perspective, which we'll touch on a little bit later, you have vertical straight up and down to one vanishing point on the right-hand side, or to the vanishing point on the left-hand side. Those are your only choices. And with 3-point perspective, you have 3 vanishing points, so all your lines are going to go to each of the vanishing points. They can't go anywhere else. Okay? So if you keep those simple rules in mind, you'll be okay. Now once again, once we've established the horizon line within our environment, we have 3 choices. Vertical, and that vertical line has to go at a 90-degree angle to your horizon line. Right? So all you have to do is just take a protractor or a square or something like that, you know, those triangles that have a 90-degree angle, a 45-degree angle on them, and just find the 90-degree angle right there. And you draw your line vertically this way. Okay? And then your other lines are going to go parallel to the horizon line. So you could measure the distance that you want your line to be above the horizon line or below it and just make it parallel. So again, it's really simple. Okay? What I find a lot of people will do is they'll be sloppy and they'll do this. There's my line for the floor. Is that parallel to the horizon line? No, it's sloppy. Okay, so what you do is you nudge the line until you get it parallel. Visually, you determine whether or not that's the correct position for the line. Okay, you can be off by like a millimeter or something like that, but use your eyes, start to gauge it. And this is something that you will find as we go through the course. As you do each of your assignments, when you do your drawings, when I go to mark them, I'm not going to take out a protractor and a ruler and some sort of a calculator that there is no such thing, that will calculate your perspective and punch in a bunch of numbers and try to figure out whether or not your perspective is correct. What am I going to use? I'm going to use my eyes and my judgment, and I'm going to decide whether or not it looks right. Does it look right? Right? So you need to train yourselves in the same way to see whether or not something looks right. So there's that teeny tiny little voice that's inside your brain that whenever you're drawing something, your brain will talk to you, and it's very quiet and it's very meek, and it goes, excuse me, you know what, that line is not very good, I don't think, and you just ignore it. Okay? You just keep drawing your crappy little line and you make a mistake. And then later on, you know, you'll pull your drawing out and you'll go, man, that's a really bad drawing. I guess I can't draw very well. But in reality, your brain was actually telling you that you did a bunch of really crappy lines and you should have fixed them. What you need to do is we need to turn the volume up on our voice and also turn up the strength of it so that when you're drawing a line, if I go to drop a line in like this, my brain's going to go, stop, what the heck do you think you're doing, you moron? That's a bad line, fix that. And then you go, whoa, okay, I'm fixing it, I'm really sorry. Okay, and you make the correction. Because every time you step through to the next line, if you make one basic mistake at the very beginning, everything else is going to be wrong based on that. And it just grows exponentially wrong. And so we have to be as precise as we possibly can, not to the point where we're anally precise, but just generally precise. Okay? So take care. This is what I was talking about last week, that you have to think when you're drawing, constantly thinking about what you're doing. And listen to the voice in your head. You're always asking a question. What does this line represent? It's the horizon line. It's my eye level. What's this line represent? Well, that's the corner of the room. What's this line represent? That's the vanishing point. That's the point that I'm standing straight in front of and looking straight at the wall at. So the distance between here and here is what? And you answer that question. And so therefore the opposite corner is there. And what's that distance? Does it look like it's in proper ratio to it? Did you measure it out? If this is 5 feet, what's the height of the wall? Is it a 10-foot ceiling? Is it a 20-foot ceiling? Is it a 30-foot ceiling? Is it a 5-foot ceiling? Is it a 2-inch ceiling? Okay. If we've determined that within this room, this classroom, this is a 10-foot ceiling, we have to determine the length of this line. Where does it end? Where's the stop point on that line? And if that's where we put it, if this is 5 feet here, if we turn this sideways, that's longer. That's more than 5 feet there. Because if we put 5 feet on the top of this side here and it goes there, then this is also longer. We've probably added on an extra 2 feet total. So we've got a 12-foot ceiling in ratio to this. Visually, does it look right? No, because this is longer than what this represents here. So you have to work to scale as well. You can't just arbitrarily change the scale of things. So use your measurement. Just figure out what the measurement is there. Mark your point right there. Take that distance right there and mark it right here. And ta-da, you've got a 10-foot ceiling. Now, based on what I've just done there, I put my horizon line at 5 feet. I put it half the distance between the top of the ceiling and the bottom floor. Is that where I want my horizon line? Again, it's a series of questions. Okay? What is the position of the character or the camera in this instance? What do you want the audience to see? Where do you want the audience to be positioned in relationship to this room? And so we can move our horizon line wherever we want. Right? So let's leave it where it is right now. So we've got the top edge of the room, we've got the bottom edge of the room, that's the floor line. So now we draw our floor line on. We draw a line that's parallel to the horizon line, matching up to this line here across the opposite corner of the room right here. And we do the same thing on this side here. Now it would be okay to do this, to block off your horizon line, because we can use the floor line here to line it up and make sure that it's parallel there, or you can go above it like this if you want to. Whatever comes closest. Okay, so this line is obviously closer here, so I might as well use it. Oops. My desk is sliding here a little bit. So I draw my line parallel to the horizon line across there, and that automatically connects me to the opposite corner of my room. So now I have a room with the ratio of 10 feet high, 30 feet wide, and I'm at the 5-foot position away from this corner over here. So I've now made two choices with my lines, vertical and horizontal. Now the only other choice that I have is to go to the vanishing point. And so I go through each of the corners from the vanishing point. So I simply line them up like this, through the vanishing point, through the corner. Now, I don't need to draw a line through here because that line does not exist. That's the wall. What I do need is I need to represent that corner where the ceiling and this wall here connect together. Right? So be a little bit, you know, frugal with your lines. There don't have to be lines everywhere. Just draw them where you need them. So let me go like that. This line would go over here, through the vanishing point, through the corner, out like this, and then this corner, through the vanishing point, up like this. So now, based on what I've done there, you can see that the angle here of this ceiling line to the wall, the ceiling's up here, here's the wall down here, you can see this angle is at a sharper angle than this line over here. And that's because the vanishing point is further away from that wall. So it tends to flatten the wall here out. It's taking the wall and just pushing it out in this direction. Whereas this wall comes towards us now in this direction here. So now we're starting to introduce some of the basic, the most basic rule of perspective is that the closer something is to you, the larger it appears. The further away, the smaller it appears. Right? So if we were to take and draw a line right through here, connecting the ceiling here along the wall, making it parallel to this line here. So the line has to go vertical. So let's just draw a line down here like this. We can see that the distance from here, the corner of the room, and this corner down here, that distance there to there is smaller than the distance from this corner point here to this corner point here. So therefore, we perceive that this wall is coming towards us closer. It's bigger. Right? So we're creating an optical illusion of the third dimension, that things are getting bigger as they come towards us. Right? So we could put a whole series of lines on here. We could, you know, do something similar to what's on the wall over here on the side with the corkboard. We could do a bunch of panels on the wall there to describe that. But I'll show you a little trick later on as to how you can make that work properly. But right now we'll just deal with the basics. So here's a simple one-point perspective where we shifted the vanishing point off to the side. So let's do the same thing again, but let's shift the vanishing point to a different position and put the horizon line in a different position in relationship to the room. So again, you can do this in any order that you want, essentially. You can draw your horizon line first, or you can draw the parameter of the room first. So let's try doing that in this time. Just down here a little bit. Let's just draw same size, like use the same scale here on the side. Just drop the line down. So we're creating roughly about the same size of an end wall there. So once again, the ratio of this should be, if you take this line here and turn it on its side, we should get 3 of those along that distance there to create a ratio of 10 to 30. And again, it all depends on, you know, what size your room is. You can change it to any proportion you want. It just depends on what the design of it is. So now once we have this end wall, we're basically saying to the audience that once again, we're standing somewhere in the room further back a little bit, and we're looking straight on at the wall. So the wall's at a 90-degree angle. And that's because the lines are parallel to us here. When the lines become parallel, that means we're looking straight at the wall. There's no angle to it. So now what we do is we can simply pick a point. You can close your eyes. I can just close my eyes here and just go like this. Oops, that's outside. I have to be inside the box. Oh, I'm outside. I'm gonna go right there. I can pick that point right there and say, that's my vanishing point. I don't have to draw a horizon line in, because when you put a vanishing point on a drawing, that automatically creates a horizon line. So you could say, that's your vanishing point right there. So what I need to do is I need to extend my lines out here through the corner to the vanishing point that's there. Same thing down here. From here through here. From here through to here. And from here through here. Now one thing I should point out, and this is not, this will be on the video, like when I post this on YouTube later on, it'll actually show up the way it is on my paper. But what you guys are actually seeing on screen is a compressed version of the image. Okay, that's actually squished down smaller. So when you're looking at this height here in relationship to the width here, when I do this, when I use that measurement there, when I turn it sideways, if I take my pencil and just do this, that's 10 feet. When I turn that sideways now, when I put that on there, it looks like it's half the distance almost, right? Okay, that's because the image has been compressed. On my actual drawing, it's like 1/3 the distance. So just ignore the fact that I'm saying that this is 10 and this is 30. What it looks like is this is 10 and this is 20 here, and they're there. Okay. So what we've done here is we've simply changed where the horizon line is. Our horizon line, if I draw it very lightly, is running right through there. So you can see that if this is 10 feet from here to here, and half the distance right there is 5 feet, then it looks like it's almost like 5 3/4, maybe 6 feet off the ground in relationship to the overall ratio. So I'm slightly higher. Plus my vanishing point has moved more towards the center of the room. So now when you look at the angles of these lines here on either side, they almost look symmetrical. They look like they're the same. Okay, compared to this one here, which is flattened out on this side, and this one's come towards us more.